I found them at dawn, one tiny canvas sneaker, laced clean, resting on the cold brass rim of the lighthouse lantern like a question nobody wanted to ask. The salt had crusted the stitches. There was a smear of something darker inside the toe. People took pictures. People whispered. You should have seen the way the whole town held its breath, like someone had pressed pause on the world and forgotten to hit play again. My name is Mira. I will tell you what happened, because if I don't, the sea will keep telling the story wrong. Jonah was laughing when he said he could fix anything. He was 18 and ridiculous, forever half in and half out of trouble, with a grin that made people hand him keys before they meant to. He loved the lighthouse the way some people love storms, reckless, as if danger were an ingredient he could flavor into something better. 1 week before the accident, Jonah found an old map stitched into our father's jacket pocket. Not a map of streets, but a list of promises, names, dates, a single word beside each like a tally mark. The top line read, Lighthouse, Keep. He showed it to me under the diner neon, thumb tracing the letters as if they were a dare. It's dumb, he said, smirking. But what if it's not? What if Dad hid something up there? I laughed and told him to stop being a romantic, but he didn't stop. Jonah never stopped before the edges of things got sharp. You're not coming alone, I said the night he climbed the cliff. I'm not afraid, he said. Not of this. Elias met us at the base of the stairs. Old Elias, who kept two kinds of patience in his pockets, the one with coins and the other with stories. He spoke 2 lines that night, the kind you hear and forget until they echo. Lights fall when people forget why they're lit, Elias said, and then, be careful. We were careless. We were young. We were brave in the way people are brave until bravery asks something expensive. The ladder groaned. The ocean leaned like a listening thing below. Jonah found a hidden compartment beneath the lantern floorboards, a tin box with a name scratched on the lid and a locket inside. He opened it like a man ripping open a secret to see if it was soft or sharp. Inside the locket was a photograph of our mother and a ticket stamped with a date, the day she left. She promised she'd come back, Jonah said softly. His hands were smaller than the memory, shaking. I should have left then. I should have closed the tin and gone home and pretended I'd never seen the map. But there was a flicker, not of light but of something wanting, and I touched him on the shoulder. We'll find her, I said, the kind of promise that weights a person down like an anchor. The lantern room had an old kerosene lamp Jonah swore he'd check. He climbed onto the catwalk to clean the glass while I read the locket like a prayer. A breeze found its way through the cracks, carrying cigarette ash and the taste of diesel from the harbor. Jonah's shirt caught the edge of the rag he'd put down. The rag brushed the lamp's flame. It was nothing at first. A lick, a whisper. Then the rag went, and the rag carried the wooden grate, and the wooden grate carried the paint, and the paint drank the flame like it had been waiting its whole life to be used. The lantern room filled with the kind of heat that roared in your bones. I remember Jonah's hair lit from behind like a halo gone wrong. I remember him turning to me and not saying a thing because there weren't words for the speed at which everything collapsed. Jump! Elias shouted from below, his voice small and sudden. Jonah hesitated for half a breath longer than I wanted. He looked at the locket, then at me, and in that small, thunderless space he chose to try to save the photograph first. He reached back. He bent. The floor gave. They pulled him from the water by the next day, or maybe it was the day after, time blurring once gravity and grief took hold. The town wrapped him in blankets, as if that could stitch what the sea had unstitched. They told us he'd been found near the old jetty, face bruised with salt. The reporters wanted answers. The sheriff wanted a statement. People wanted villains to point at. I learned to give them none. 3 nights after the funeral, while names still rang like keys in my throat, I went back to the dock where Jonah's boat lay tied with a knot I'd once watched him make 100 times. I took the locket from my pocket, the one I'd kept because some promises were too heavy to carry out loud, and opened it. The photograph inside was water-warped, but whole. There was a name on the back in a handwriting I recognized. Miranda. Not our mother's name. our mother's real name. It meant something I hadn't wanted it to mean: betrayal, a life split into two precise, useless pieces. I had wanted answers. Jonah had wanted answers. We both reached for the same flame. People called it an accident. They erected a plaque. They lit candles and promised to remember. Occasionally, someone would ask about the map, ask whether Dad had left secrets and why Jonah had been up there. I would say what I was told to say, that he was brave, that it was a tragedy. At night, I still wake to the sound of salt against the glass and the smell of smoke. I walk sometimes to the lighthouse and press my palm to the metal where Jonah's sneaker had once rested. I can still feel the warmth that lingered after the flame was put out. Not heat, but the echo of motion, the part of a life that keeps moving even when you stop. If you ask me who lit the match, I'll tell you the truth I learned too late. Fire feeds on courage, and sometimes the brave don't notice the small, cheap flame in their hands until it is too late. Jonah's shoes were never found again. The town kept one raised question like an empty chair at a dinner no one wanted to sit at. And me? I am the narrator because confessions are a kind of lighthouse. Their beam is small and unreliable, but it's all that's left when the rest goes dark. Elias comes by sometimes and says, "We keep what we lose." He doesn't mean it kindly, he means it like a fact. I nod because what else do you do? We keep the shoes, even if they don't fit anymore. We keep the locket, even if the photo stands between us like a ghost we both agreed to ignore. People ask for villains. They need them. I have no villain to give them, just a mirror. Look into it and you'll see the person who loved too hard, who reached too far, who thought a promise could outshine a lighthouse. Look closer and you'll see Jonah smiling like he always did, like danger was a candy he couldn't refuse. Look closest and maybe you'll see me, mouth curved into the lie I offer, that I did everything I could. Sometimes at the very edge of morning, I whisper his name into the wind. The sea, which keeps better time than we do, answers in salt. "Jonah," I say, "I'm sorry." The wind folds the apology like paper and takes it out to where the shoes used to rest.